I feel very happy to come and stand in front of you. I should thank the CPA for giving me an opportunity to come and share some of my thoughts. And as it is introduced, I am basically an academician and I work in the area of marketing and more specifically in the area of branding. I wanted to focus my talk specific to the marketing, sustainable marketing, especially like the plantations in India is concerned, including tea today. You find the small holdings are growing. Their contribution to the sector is growing year after year. Gone are those days when you had even tea sector, it has been dominated by the corporate, right? Let it be coffee, rubber or spices, where you find it is more of the small holders. But then, given with this kind of the background in the small holdings and other challenges that we face in the plantation sector, how do you make this sector more sustainable, especially by practicing sustainable marketing practices? And I'm very glad that some of my students are here. I don't know whether they're inside or outside. They gave me a pleasant surprise and they're associated with the coffee sector. It gives me great pleasure for me. And Mr. Mohan Das, with whom I am a long association I have. Right? Anyway, I think you're all, sorry. Yeah, good to see all of you. Now, sector, today, immediately, I think especially I see a lot of people who worked into this, who were in this sector over, more than 2 to 3 decades. You have been experiencing tremendous changes in the sector. I remember sometimes in Sundikopa, I stayed in one homestay. And I was asking, he took me to his plantation, coffee estate. I asked him about, how has been this coffee sector? What are the major challenges that you're doing? Because that was a part of a structural infirmities in the plantation sector. I asked him, what are the changes? He said, it's very simple. Those days, weekend the laborers will come. They will not even dare to look at me. They will, like this, they will look down. But today, if I want labor, I have to be like this in front of them. So this is one simple kind of a change. Why, you ask? It is not exactly the lack of people. We have people. Maybe, I would say, to make it very simple, whether my sector is that attractive to pull these people to remain in the sector. Another important challenge that we face is like our next generation. How many of our next generation, they are willing to stay back into the plantations? Have I made the sector more attractive? Where the world is going, am I really running in that direction? The other production related issues, productivity issues, yield or the pest attack, climate changes, all this lead to what we call it as, the supply related concerns. But if you look at the demand related concerns, the problem is like the customer today, as we all are customer one way or the other, we are also not an exception to that. When we go to a shop to want to buy, it is not that you just easily get convinced and buy. You have a lot of antecedents and pre-evaluation, get convinced. With that idea, you go to the shop. It is not that you just go and buy. Let it be any product for that matter today. When it comes to the food, any beverages, it is more specific that when we go to the shop, we are more care about the manner in which the product is being produced, where it is produced, who is the producer, how it is being processed and packed. So customer is well informed, customer is more demanding today. This you have absolutely no control on that. Number 2, the global changes, free trade agreements. I need not have to tell you about year on year how the country, you are not even very sure about it, how this country will behave tomorrow, what kind of a tariff will come tomorrow on India. We are in that kind of an uncertainty. Technological changes. So these are some of the challenges, the changes in both the supply side and the demand side puts a lot of concerns in front of us. So therefore, what does it mean to us? Do I really see any kind of an opportunity, or these challenges are putting the sector very less attractive? I would say that we are all considered to be someone who is using a moving treadmill. Someone who is on a moving treadmill, I hope you know that. Maybe I don't know whether the planters, there's no requirement for a treadmill. You go to the city, everyone will have a treadmill, right? But as your nature of a job, that itself takes care of that. You don't need to have a treadmill. But at least, I don't know, I'm sure that you would have heard about the treadmill. This treadmill has got multiple speeds. And when you are on a moving treadmill, when the belt moves in a different speed, if you say that I am comfortable with my speed, then the belt moves in a different speed, you will be thrown out. So you are expected to keep the same pace when you are. So therefore, when the technology is changing, industry is changing, there is an introspection that am I really moving in that speed? And otherwise what can happen is like, you would have heard about the bird, dodo, extinct. One simple reason for this extinct is like the comfort zone. The predators entered into, they liked it. By the time this birds in the, the island, they liked the fruit in that island, they started eating more and more. They put on weight, they were so comfortable, they were so happy, they lost their ability to fly. By the time predators came, the birds wanted to fly, it becomes, the bird not able to fly. I think the simple story, you're all learned people. I don't want to go very deeper into that. What can happen to us if you remain in a comfort zone and not being proactive? What is the need of the hour? You need to have a very ambitious mindset, entrepreneurial drive, or what is my focus on activities beyond production? Or I'm happy, as of now the prices are doing good. When the prices are doing good, it doesn't mean that coffee is doing good. Right? You need to have an analysis about why the price is going up. Is it because of me or it is because of something else? So what is my kind of a role in the value addition or beyond the non-farm activity? Am I really practicing the professionalism, right from estate management, operations, to the value additions, etc. I was talking about, handling the labor. One estate, you have an issue that you're not getting timely labor, and because of that, the picking is getting missed out, and there's a crop loss. The neighbor estate, he says that I do not have any issue in getting the labor. Where comes that problem? It is the way in which you handle the people. Your approach of hiring and firing, or colonialized kind of the approach of dealing with the people no more will work. Today people have a lot of opportunity, and the plantation job among the next generation is considered to be which is less status. So given with this, how do I make it more attractive and ensure that, or by practicing this professionalism? Some kind of an innovative practices, how best artificial intelligence can be used, the use of technology, and by doing all this, there is a requirement and there is a pressing need among all of us to ensure that this sector is very, very attractive. Otherwise, anything can happen. 2 weeks ago, I was in Kerala, Trivandrum. We were working on this various sectors, the schemes related, effectiveness. We were studying about even rubber. You go deeper into the Kottayam district, the traditional place where rubber is being grown. People compete each other and they invest on their houses. One person spending on 1 crore, the neighbor will spend on 2 crore, 3 crores per single house. All unique design. When you knock at the door, 2 elderly people and 4 dogs will come. And where are the others? They're in Australia, UK, are they interested in plantation? The answer is no. Now ultimately, what happens to these houses after their life? Houses are for sale. And so these are the issues that are happening. So therefore, how best, I think, it's all said and done. Maybe, people like me sitting in Bangalore office or even as an academician, I can talk. But practitioners like you will face more heat. But then there need to be some kind of a blend between me and you. Where with whatever little thing that can be happen, if you just apply, I'm sure that we can certainly take this sector to greater heights. First of all, if you look at this, what is the kind of our cropping pattern? Is there any scientific decision that is involved in that? You all know about the agroclimatical conditions that is required for specific crop, whether coffee or tea or spices or areca, what that you wanted to buy, or sorry, wanted to produce. Number two, having decided that you wanted to go ahead with coffee, question is, should I go for Arabica or Robusta? And immediately the answer is that I will go for, which one you will prefer among these two given the conditions of options? You will prefer Robusta. What is the reason? Obvious.
Easy to maintain.
Long term, easy to maintain. Am I really looking into the market condition? Do I have the market centric kind of an approach? I'm not saying that the Robusta do not have a market. It's something like the vanilla market is there, everybody goes for vanilla. Finally the price crashes. We only spoil the situation. But later, too late to realize that the area where you have gone for Robusta is not really suitable for Robusta. It is suitable for more for Arabica. Here again, in the traditional area, in Tamil Nadu, the traditional area for growing rubber is the Kanyakumari district. Marthandam area. I don't know how anybody is there. I belong to that place. One lady planter was sharing a bitter experience. She had good rubber. Rubber price crashed very badly. Waited for few years. There is no hope that the price will go up. So, early mature, before the tree getting matured, chopped off all the trees, and she planted coconut. When the coconut started yielding, the coconut price crashed. Then by the time she realized that all her neighbors have gone for rubber. When the neighbor plant has got a rubber plantation, you have no other option but to grow rubber. Nothing else will come nearby. So she now planted rubber now. Now she realizes that if my coconut would have been there, then now the coconut price is going up. Now, problem is that it is not with them. Problem is with the policymakers. Problem is with the learned people. What is the scientific input I am giving to them? What is the market information I am giving to them? Are they able to take the market-centric, data-driven decision? Or just like that, one fine morning somebody tells and you take a decision. So there need to be a market-centric. In marketing we talk about, it is not that you produce product what you can produce, you produce product what the market requests. Otherwise it is something like, you are capable enough to, produce refrigerator, go to the Eskimos and tell them you buy my refrigerator. That's a old concept, outdated concept of marketing. So you need to look at this kind of an idea, and then it is said that your ship is highly safe as long as it is in the harbor, but it has to go deep into the sea. Your product has to go to the market, right? So this crop-centric kind of market-centric kind of crop selection is something which is the need of the hour. Look at what is required, which market you can go for. Domestic market is a huge market. It is a developing market. You say that 25 to 30% and the remaining goes for export market. Domestic market itself, you find the huge opportunity for coffee. It's something like two salesmen sent to Africa to sell their shoes. Each of them given one full container of shoes. One person landed in Africa. He told that you take back this one full container of shoes because people in Africa, they don't wear shoes. Other salesperson wrote to the HO that you have sent only one container, you send two containers because people in Africa, they don't wear shoes. So it's all how they look at it. So when coffee is not known, coffee consumption, per capita consumption is very less, you can put a lot of effort to develop the market, not the product. So market development is something which is need of the hour. If you look at based on the coffee board data, the share of Arabica and the Robusta, right? You find that the Arabica share is very less and the Robusta share is more. So therefore there is a need for the market-centric crop selection. The second important point which I wanted to mention about, for marketing to be sustainable, there need to be a sustainable practice across the value chain. Coffee has got a longer value chain compared to other crops. So wherein all the participants in the value chain, need to play a safe role or ethical role to play. Right? They need to have an ethical practices. What this ethical practice is all about? Am I giving a remunerative prices? Am I making a what you call it as the right measurement or weighing or transparency in weighing? Then assurance to the growers or the planters on regular sourcing. It is not that all of a sudden one person will come. I don't know. I think this area. I don't want to take some names, and I'm not specifically talking about any specific individual, but I know about some of those who source coffee on a regular basis. People though they come, they buy one season and the next season they disappear. They buy something from you, all good quality they take from you, and the remaining they say that it is your job. So therefore this cannot be a sustainable practice. Ethical practice is that the buyer or somebody who is sourcing from you should have take the entire lot. Today there are people, they are practicing it. Corporate, they are practicing it. They find an alternative, the market for the second grade. If it is mango, the one grade will go for pulping, another will go for fresh fruit, another will go for pickle. So you have an option, you have a business model, and then you source the entire. So that makes the marketing a little more sustainable. And something which is very, I was doing this, there are a lot of BLF, the Botley factory. This Botley factory person will not have even a single bush of tea. He completely depends on the small tea growers, buy it from them, process it. So during the peak season, he will say that, today my requirement is done, my machine do not have the capacity, I don't want to buy it from you. Where the grower will go? He will go to the next Botley factory. By the time it is delayed for another 1 hour, and the BLF will know that this lot is being rejected by the previous one. The previous person tells that it was 25 rupees, he will say 23 rupees. Now we have no other go, it is 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the evening, you have no other go but to give it to him. Or if that person also says that I don't want, he has to throw it on the roadside. There are a lot of situations happening like this. So I worked with one Botley factory and created what you call it as the linkage between the Botley factory and the small tea growers, STGs, those who have formed an FPO. And they tied up together and they assured that we will maintain the quality and there's a regular supply and buying the entire lot. So these are something which is very much required for making the marketing a little more sustainable. Now, when you say that making the marketing more sustainable is that by creating a community, somebody who is sourcing from you, they need to focus on creating a community. I think I've gone through the Tata Coffee's even website. They take a lot of efforts. Whether Tata Coffee, even Amalgamated Plantations Private Limited, the Tata Group in the Northeast for sourcing leaf, they have a separate mission called creating a community of the smallholders. The smallholders are being recognized. Right. So what is the kind of a community creation that you're doing? When it comes to the coffee, I would say that there are majority, or I would say that many of you into the third generation or the fourth generation family planters. This family plantations, they even, they put on they take a lot of effort in creating a community. Some of them, they may not even leverage the commercial benefit. They may not even promote it, in a very intensive manner, but they have been doing it. If you are a family planter for the fourth generation or the third generation, if one of the employers' family, their own next generation, they are sticking on with you, they are still working with you, that means you have created a community. The next generation of your labor says that my child I will send only to this plantation. That means you have created a community. And there is, I think South India Coffee, they are doing this, creating a community. Private people. Kalachandra is doing that. So how do I really create that kind of a community? So even the family planters, family business and plantations, they have immense opportunity to leverage the commercial benefit of creating this community. So by creating this community, you are also involved in what we call it as the sustainable marketing practices. I think based on this, we at Indian Institute of Plantation Management, recently we introduced a short-term program, 6 months certificate program on managing family business in plantations. And we have many of them, 80% of our participants are coffee planters, some of them into tea and the spices. And this is the program which we are running, because how do you make this family businesses more sustainable is very much something which is the need of the hour. Otherwise, the thing is, if you look at, I think majority of you, if not all, most of you will have the family business, and you got your family property as it's a gift from your parents. What is my commitment and my attachment? Is it just only an emotional attachment, or am I really contributing myself? I'm taking the benefit of the hard-earned kind of investment made by it's an ancestors. There's a very good saying, I don't know which stage you are, then you can relate it. Yeah, it says that hard times create strong men. When coffee goes bad, it makes you very strong. And the strong man creates good time. Then good times, I think now you are in a good time. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. So you can see how do you relate it to a generation? First generation, second generation, third generation, the fourth generation. The hardship is the first generation. Second generation, the growth. Third generation started enjoying everything, and it starts declining. I am not talking about the coffee alone, generally in any family business actually. Running a family business in the plantations, you need to have this kind of what we call it as social heart of creating a community. Creating a community, and of course with a business mind. Which country you can enter, how we can bring premium price for your product mind. The third point that makes your marketing more sustainable is product innovation and development. Am I confining my effort and my contribution within the plantation? Is there any non-farm activity? Am I doing any kind of a value addition? Couple of months ago, I was with this Puttadi and Idukki district of Kerala, and going around the producing region, auction system, and again even the value addition, the grading, cleaning, grading and sorting areas. One grey area, what I find is like, in the cleaning area, every one lot that you clean, there is minimum 1 to 2 kg of mud. Tell me, you as a grower, if you don't really care for your produce, what kind of a moral right that you have to get a premium price? You are leaving this option to somebody else because you are in a kind of arrogance. It is more of an intellectual arrogance or money arrogance, I don't know. Anyway I'm getting money, why should I do any kind of a cleaning? Without cleaning also there is a market. So therefore, branding is possible provided first you start with the cleaning, sorting and the grading. Even that little kind of a value addition, if it is not done at the farm level, then it is not going to be sustainable, because your hard earned, it's not that easy to give birth to a baby. When the baby is born, you transfer the ownership to somebody else. So there is no wonder why the other person's bargaining power is more. So what is the kind of my interest on the non-farm activity? What is the value addition? Today, if you look at this Spices Board has come up in their auction, they have come out with what you call it as, there's a separate slot for e-auction of lab-tested green cardamom. The first initiative to bring in that kind of a quality conscious among the planters. Let them be aware that where the cardamom stands. And if you have tested and certified, you have differentiated from the rest. And the entire auction happens for 3 hours, the first slot for the differentiated cardamom. So, the future is going to be like that. Now if you say 5 to 10%, the future at least it should be year on year there has to be an increase in the share of the tested and the graded cardamom that is being auctioned in the auction hall. Something very similar which I experienced in visiting Visakhapatnam in Paderu and also the Araku Valley. This TechnoServe is, as an NGO, they are working with the small growers, tribal growers. They have come up with a concept called the Know Your Coffee. Even Coffee Board had a scheme called the Know Your Copy. Right? But then, the manner in which these people, they have invested on the labs on the region, it's really amazing. See, the road from Visakhapatnam airport into this Paderu, I would say that there is no road. And after going into that remote place, the kind of wealth creation that is happening there, really it was a maze. And these people people, they have established a state-of-the-art coffee lab. Individual grower can bring their sample coffee, test it, you get a result, then you will know where you stand. This is going to be the future. How many of us we know that the quality of my product? We are not even aware of that. We don't even take any kind of an effort in knowing that. So this scheme, I have recommended the Coffee Board to go for the. You need to create similar kind of a, maybe on a public-private partnership or any kind of a lab wherein planters should be given an exposure to enhance the quality, just the quality of coffee. Right. So give that kind of an infrastructure which is required for the product innovation and the development. If you look at again the coffee which has been exported over the period, this is again based on the Coffee Board data. You look at the premium price or the unit price for the value added coffee and the specialty coffee over the period, the trend is in the upward. So always when you do a value addition and when you come up with a specialty product, there is a value for that. The fourth point which I want to put in front of you is about aligning your branding with the sourcing strategy. Like someone who is sourcing and their branding, they need to get aligned. This is a project which I was talking about, which I have done for the tea. Similar, the same concept it applies for coffee also. But coffee, there are many actors. The value chain is quite long. But then again, what that happens is like when your coffee is being exported, majorly to Italy, once the roasting, grounding is being done and the blending is done, your identity is gone. Nobody knows that from which coffee it got blended with. But we claim that our coffee is good for blending. It's shade grown coffee. It's all about what you call it as, it gives flavor and it adds more value to the cup. All that's fine. But then, am I really leveraging the commercial benefit of it? Because what happens in the process is like, the identity gets lost immediately after it gets exported from India. Do I have that kind of, what you call it as the willingness to take up the responsibility or dictate to the importer and tell them, I will give my produce provided you reveal my identity and say that this coffee is blended with coffee from this estate from India. If you do that, then there is what you call it as an active participation of producer into the branding system. So the producer need to be integrated with the branding system. If the producer is not actively part of the branding system and the branding is being exercised, is being done by somebody else, you are not a part of that. It is not going to add any augmented income to the producer. So the producer need to be a part of this. So therefore, if you are part of this branding exercise, this will strengthen your competitiveness. Let me talk maybe just two examples just to open your thoughts. I don't know how many of you heard of this. These two? Yeah, Alapi green cardamom. You all heard of it or? Many of you? Good. Okay. Then the next one is Kumbakonam degree coffee. Heard of? At least some of you heard of. Others are marketing, but they're a little shy of raising their hands. Now, what is anything wrong with this kind of a branding? Coffee has been identified as Kumbakonam degree coffee, and cardamom as Alapi green cardamom. But how come cardamom has been identified with Alapi? What Alapi has got to do with cardamom? Where is the producer? Trader. Originally, the Britishers came, their attraction in India, spices. Yeah, Alapi, they had the port, very old port, now it is not there. And when it got exported from here, people asked from where it has come. They said Alapi. So they named it as Alapi green cardamom. So your produce has been identified by the trader. What has happened to the producer? Producer is not part of the branding exercise. Kumbakonam degree coffee. Kumbakonam is famous for temples. Kumbakonam Magamaham festival. Lot of gatherings. and a typical Brahmin community known for making a good quality of filter coffee. Now the question is, quality of coffee comes, is it in just one product, when someone makes coffee at home, or starts from the production? Do we have any role to play in the production?
It's only the pea berry that is roasted there to make.
Okay, yeah, that's true. See, the way in which you produce, the way in which it is being roasted,
Evenly
and yeah,
evenly roasted.
yeah, evenly roasted. That's what all that it adds value. So therefore, somebody is highlighting your coffee has been identified by a consumer group. You are not being identified. Just to throw some points as to how this coffee or any kind of a plantation product identity is moving away from the producer to the later part. So therefore, can we really think of branding? I'm sure that some of you may be doing this branding. We have a lot of wrong notion about branding. Right? So, like, there are a lot of myths about that. Myths puts our effort in doing a branding, especially when you think of an agriculture produce. We say that coffee is coffee. How do I differentiate it? Whether it is coming from your estate or neighbor estate, all looks at the same, physically undifferentiated. So when you find a coffee, physically it is undifferentiated, you need to think beyond the product. When mineral water is been differentiated with a package, people who purchased only Bisleri, they got confusion between generic name and a brand name. You go to the shop, don't ask for mineral water, ask for only Bisleri. You ask mineral water, shopkeeper will say that I don't have. Something like Xerox, give me Xerox. You tell them Xerox is it's a machine, and you tell photocopy, shopkeeper will say that I don't have photocopier here. Right. So that's what the first mover advantage Xerox had. Then later they came with an advertisement, they said Xerox, you cannot Xerox a Xerox on the Xerox machine. Right. So, it's like mineral water has been differentiated by giving a better packaging, because Indians were giving too much importance to the bottle than to the water. So they came up with a better bottle package, they differentiated Kinley. So therefore, you need to think beyond a product. If you really wanted to do the branding, it is really possible. One common myth is like, brands always add more price. It is true, where if you wanted to buy Starbucks, or those days in even cafe coffee day, you may pay 150 rupees. Go to a neighbor's shop, you pay 10 rupees or 20 rupees, you are getting a coffee. So our argument says that coffee, just for a brand, you are paying more. But it is only a myth, it is not a reality, because when a customer is going to CCD or a customer is going to this Starbucks, they don't go for just for a coffee there. CCD says that a lot can happen with a cup of coffee. Yeah. So what is the entire value proposition? What are the set of benefits that you get? So you need to revolve around all those kind of benefits that a customer is getting by buying a coffee from you. It is not just only about the coffee. So this is one myth. The second myth is about branding means you have to give a name, there has to be a logo. Not necessarily. To create an identity, you should have a logo. That's fine. These logo, names, etc., these are all just branding elements. I don't know how many of you heard of this, Harley Davidson bike, the world's cheapest bike. Yeah. I put potato. Now you browse through, Google it later. Potato bike, the answer is Harley Davidson bike. The deep rhythmic sound generated by this bike is copyrighted, is protected. So that means if you're not able to differentiate in the product, you go beyond the product. So the entire it's not just about your logo or the kind of a name or the packaging. The entire experience can be used to differentiate. The next one is we assume that the customer is always right. It is a myth. Marketing professor like me, I teach the students and tell that the customer is a king. Not all the time actually. Customer may also go wrong. When customer says that chicory is good, chicory will add. It is industry's job to correct the perception of the customers. When the customer says that green cardamom is good, You tell me those who have cardamom, how long this green color will be there? Right from the farm you get green. If you want, when it goes to the Gulf countries, the green color to remain there, you have to paint it. It gives a different value then. Customer is wrong. It is your job not to go with the customer. It is your job to correct the customer. It's something like, so when a customer is having a wrong perception, it is your job to correct it. Right? So this is again another myth. Recently FAO had come out with this kind of a generic promotion to reduce the post-harvest loss of any food item. They have taken the example of carrot. They have shown the different shapes of carrot. They said everyone, all these are carrots. Irrespective of the shape, carrot is a carrot. They said like just because of the shape, people were rejecting it and there is a loss. Right, so therefore, your evaluation system, when somebody says that having too much of coffee is not good for health, it is your job to correct it. It is your job to correct it. Right? So customer may also go wrong, and it is not that all the time customer is right. The last myth, which is something which is very much relevant for coffee, is a commodity. How do you decommoditize it? Because coffee, mostly it goes, the majority of the share it goes as a B2B segment. We have a notion that when it is a B2B, there is no need for doing a branding. Today, tell me one B2B segment where branding is not done. Any industry, tell me one B2B. In the global export, our share is only 4%. But if USA or European, deforestation regulation, already they come and say that, we will stop buying coffee from you, then they have to stop consuming coffee then. Because, though it is very less, this little share of blending from Indian coffee is there to make that kind of cup of taste and the flavor and the aroma. Customers' preferences have been shaped over a period of time. If Indian coffee is not there, then they will not get that kind of a blend. Right, so therefore, you need to, need to create that kind of a branding even entering into the B2B segment. Now, is it that too difficult to differentiate coffee? You look at the moving from the commodity to a branded one. Maybe the sugar, gone are those days when you go to the shopkeeper and say that give me half kg of sugar, give me 100 gram of sugar. But today you are very much specific about the brand. Talk about the salt. Tata introduced iodized salt. Look at the journey today. So, same is the case with the water. Right. So therefore, when you decommoditize it, and there's a long journey, but it's from the origin, from decommoditizing to the brand, there need to be a lot of creativity. Once that has been done, brand can be managed over a period of time. So therefore, what is something which is very much required is like you need to have a vertical integration, trust among the different participants, the mutual trust. And again, if there is a lack of trust among the traders, the exporters, whomsoever it is, then this may not really work. How this coffee can be branded therefore? You can use any of these consumer concerns, like the production related practices, environmental standards, shade grown, traceability, animal well-being, labor standards, etc. Or you can use the producer brand like single estate origin, or using a GI tag, place of origin or country of origin. Or you can enter into any kind of a niche market with the decaffeinated coffee or organic coffee, fair trade coffee, etc. One such kind of a branding that can be very well, it has been already practiced by a few in coffee or even for the other plantation products as well. It is about ingredient branding. A simple example of ingredient branding is about, your computer, your system. The laptop, maybe if your HP is your laptop, on the top of it there's a label. The label tells that Intel inside. What is Intel? Microprocessor, right? Whether it has got anything to do with HP? HP is a brand, Intel is another brand. But HP is dare enough to bring that Intel inside and display and say that Intel is there. Why do I do that? Intel has established its brand. It's a typical B2B branding. So ingredient branding. my brand, HP brand adds more value by revealing that I use Intel inside. Right, so this is a typical example for ingredient branding. You take this lettuce, we use lettuce mostly in burger. You go to Western countries, they use it, in any very, it's more like a staple food, and it goes as a leafy vegetable and also as ingredient for making burger. So this Salanova lettuce, they had their own brand of leafy vegetable. They had a presence in their market. They were also supplying little bit to this the burger company, McD. But once they created this B2C, their own segment, now they started dictating terms with McD and saying that I will supply my lettuce provided you in your end product you mentioned that we use Salanova lettuce. This is a very strong message for us. Can you really, boldly tell my, importer and tell him like, I will supply provided you tell that this coffee is blended with Indian coffee or coffee from this estate. So that is something which is a point for you to think about it. These are all the different examples where people use this ingredient branding. So for example, the baby food, banana product, which banana brand that you use? Chiquita banana, if you are using it, you mentioned we use Chiquita banana. Why do I use it? Because it's a win-win strategy. I also win, you also win. Right? So therefore, if you really wanted this ingredient branding something to work out, what is required is that you should be willing to take up this responsibility. It is not that somebody is buying from my farm gate, my coffee is being sold, my job is done. If the end customer wants to know about you, wants a story about you, wants a picture about your coffee estate, you can very well connect it through technology today. You can do that provided I am really willing to get connected to that. So the next generation or the future, you need to take up that kind of what you call it as the responsibility, saying that my coffee is not just okay to dispatch, my coffee is even okay to consume.